The impact of childhood experiences on emotional relationships and the establishment of relationships in adulthood. Emotional relationships and human connections influence the quality of life from youth to adulthood. Experiences, family environment, and childhood upbringing are among the factors that directly affect individuals' emotional relationships in adulthood. This article will examine various childhood experiences and their impact on emotional relationships in adulthood. 1. The influence of praise and encouragement. Children who grow up in families that emphasize praise and encouragement develop the ability to establish positive connections with others in adulthood. They value close emotional relationships and empathy with others. For instance, an individual raised in a family that focuses on praise and motivation will pay attention to encouraging and boosting the confidence of others in their relationships. 2. The influence of guidance and support. Children brought up in families that emphasize guidance and support develop the skill of encouraging others and setting goals in their relationships. They utilize positive interactions and support in various situations. For example, someone raised in a family that inspires and guides will focus on motivating others to achieve their goals in their emotional relationship. 3. The influence of empowerment. Children raised in families that promote self-empowerment and willpower develop the capacity to support and strengthen the abilities of others in their relationships. They communicate effectively to help others achieve their goals and enhance their skills. For example, an individual who grew up in a family that values empowerment will pay attention to inspiring and supporting others in achieving their goals. 4. The influence of sharing responsibilities. Children brought up in families that emphasize sharing tasks and responsibilities value balancing their relationships and emphasize proper allocation of resources and functions in emotional connections. For instance, someone raised in a family that values task division will focus on maintaining a healthy balance in sharing responsibilities and establishing healthy relationships. 5. The influence of close family bonds. Children raised in families that emphasize close relationships with family members also recognize the importance of immediate and enduring connections with others in adulthood. They draw upon positive family experiences to foster lasting connections in their relationships. For example, an individual who grew up valuing close family ties will prioritize establishing enduring and close relationships with their spouse and significant individuals in their adult life. 6. The influence of violence and criticism. Children brought up in families where criticism and violence are prevalent tend to lean towards aggressive behavior and complaint in their adult relationships. They use their experiences of violence to create unstable connections in adulthood. For example, someone who grew up in a violent and critical environment may exhibit tendencies toward violence and criticize others in their relationships. 7. The influence of neglect and disregard. Children raised in families that neglect their needs and show disregard also tend to lean toward distancing themselves from relationships and ignoring the needs of others in adulthood. They use their experiences of neglect to form unstable relationships and distance themselves from others. For instance, an individual raised in an environment of neglect may exhibit tendencies to withdraw and disregard the needs of others in their relationships. 8. The influence of attention deficit. Children brought up in families that fail to address individual needs and requests tend to display a lack of attention and disregard for the needs of others in adulthood. They use their experiences of neglect to exhibit behaviors of inattention in their relationships. For example, someone raised in an environment of neglect may exhibit tendencies to disregard the needs of others in their relationships. 9. The influence of imposition. Children raised in families that unfairly impose negative emotions and responsibilities tend to lean towards setting negative emotions and unfair commitments in their relationships in adulthood. They use their experiences of imposition to create a strained and uncomfortable connections in adult life. For instance, an individual brought up in an environment of imposition may exhibit tendencies to impose negative emotions and unfair commitments in their relationships. 10. The influence of restrictions and prohibitions. Children raised in families that impose severe restrictions and prohibitions tend to lean towards rules and control in their relationships in adulthood. They use their experiences of limitations to create restrictive and controlling connections in adult life. For example, someone brought up in an environment of strict regulation may exhibit tendencies to enforce rules and control in their relationships. In conclusion, childhood experiences significantly shape emotional relationships and how individuals establish connections in adulthood. The nature of these experiences can influence the types of relationships people form and the dynamics that play out in their interactions. 11. The impact of experiences of personal rights violation. Children who grow up in families where personal rights are violated and disregarded may tend to tolerate violations and infringements of their own and others' rights in their adult relationships. 12. The impact of lack of healthy boundaries in the family. Children raised in families where healthy boundaries in relationships with others are absent may lean towards unstable and tumultuous connections with others in adulthood. 13. The impact of experiences of loss and abandonment. Children who have experienced loss or abandonment by family members may lean towards creating unstable and insecure connections in their adult relationships. 14. The impact of family substance abuse or drug use. Children growing up in families dealing with substance abuse or drug-related issues may lean towards creating unstable and problematic relationships with others in adulthood. 15. The impact of unstable parental relationships. Children raised in families with unstable and tension-inducing parental relationships may lean towards creating unstable and tension-inducing relationships with others in adulthood. 16. The impact of competition and competitive environment in the family. Children raised in families characterized by competition and competitive environment may lean towards creating competitive and uncooperative relationships with others in adulthood. 17. The impact of disregard for emotions in the family. Children raised in families that lack interest in addressing emotions may lean towards disregarding the feelings of others in their relationships in adulthood. 18. The impact of imposing or encouraging early marriage. Children who experience pressure or encouragement to marry at a young age may lean towards creating unstable and unfavorable marital relationships in adulthood. 19. The impact of isolation and social withdrawal. Children raised in families marked by isolation and social withdrawal may lean towards creating socially unstable and shallow relationships in adulthood. 20. The impact of fear and terror experiences in the family. Children who experience fear and terror, including anxiety and stress, within the family may lean towards creating unstable and anxiety-inducing relationships with others in adulthood.